Good afternoon. Welcome to the second annual PioBiz Competition. I'm Jackie Corasani, the Director of Entrepreneurship Program at Marietta College.
And I'm John Hinson, co-recipient of the 2016 PioBiz Competition. First of all, we'd like to thank the Arthur Vining Davis Foundations for their generous contributions to make this competition possible. We would also like to thank Professors Julie Harding, Dr. Duong Lee, and Pamela Langford of the Small Business Bureau for helping set up a small business workshop for our competitors earlier this semester. So thank you.
This is the final stage of the competition. The winning student is going to receive up to $10,000 in kind services, cash award, and also startup expense reimbursements.
So before we get started, we're going to briefly describe the process that has led our competitors to this stage today. There's been a lot of time and preparation that has come here, and this is simply the culmination of their efforts. This competition was open to all Marietta College students, and there was a notice sent out via social media, email, and print to all students to submit a registration for intent to compete online. And we had 2 students who ended up submitting their business plans for the competition. In early spring, there was a business workshop for those who intended to compete. The 2 students got to work with some of the professors and the Small Business Bureau here to kind of develop their business plans for submission to the 3 judges we have sitting before us. Then the 3 judges reviewed their business plans for economic feasibility and sustainability so that they could determine if their plans were feasible. After that, both of the plans got approved for the final stage, which is why we're here. So now we're going to start moving towards the competition. As we mentioned before, we have 2 competitors today. Each competitor will have 15 minutes to present their business plan, and then followed by 10 minutes of questioning by the judges only. At the end of the second presentation, all the judges will leave the room to make their decision, after which they will return to present their decision to the entire body. So please stick around for the results. It's time to flip a coin to see who will go first. Heads means Ashley. Tails means Nathaniel's. We have heads, which means Ashley will go first. Ashley, will you come forward and prepare your presentation? And during that time, we'll tell you a little bit about Ashley. Ashley Klopfenstein is from Cicero, Indiana, and a graduate of Hamlin Heights High School. She's pursuing a finance and public accounting major with a leadership minor. She's interested in financial socialization and workforce development, and after graduation, she hopes to earn her CPA license.
All right, so right now in Marietta, high school students have the opportunity to learn exciting new skills and learn about modern industries. But they don't really have a lot of chances to utilize the skills that they're learning, which is one of the issues my business is trying to address. So my business was inspired by my own frustrations when I was in high school with being unable to find relevant work experience. When I was a freshman, I first started considering a career in business, and from there I was really hooked. I took all the business classes I could, I got certifications, and I competed nationally in things like forensic accounting and Microsoft Excel. So being the optimistic high schooler I was, I decided that I was going to set out and try to find a job learning or utilizing the skills I had learned in school. But I quickly found out that a lot of businesses weren't going to give me the chance to try it out. So my business will be connecting the local high schoolers with local businesses. What's going to happen is I will meet with the local businesses and talk to them about what their different needs are for their business. I will then get a contract for them outlining what services I will provide and how much I will be paid for it. I'll then meet with the local high schoolers and match up the students with the contracts with what I think they are capable of doing. I will then employ them as independent contractors and provide them with a contract that outlines what services they will be providing and how much they will be earning. And so when I met with the local businesses, there were 4 different services that kept coming up again and again when I asked them, what services do you need and you're willing to pay to outsource? And they were social media management, website management, web design, and graphic design. The business owners said these are things that they know they need to stay up to date on, but they just don't have the time to commit to, and they don't know enough about it to work on it. So I asked them if they were willing to pay to outsource these services, and they all said, of course. And when I asked them if they had any issues about it being high schoolers that would be the ones that completed these services, they didn't really have any apprehensions. They all said that they felt like students today were more immersed in these technologies and that they were more capable of fulfilling the services than they would be. And so these are services that businesses need done, they're willing to pay to outsource, and they're comfortable having high schoolers do. What's also great about these services is they all fall within the category of digital marketing, which is a growing industry. And a Duke University study found that the percentage of companies' marketing plans dedicated to digital marketing is expected to grow 128% between 2014 and 2019. And then another study found that the 2015 digital marketing industry accounted for $58 billion, and it's still growing. So with this, we'll not only be able to continue to grow how much of these services we provide to local businesses, but also expand into other digital marketing services, such as search engine optimization, e-commerce management, Google AdWords management, and other new services that are developed within the industry. And what's also great about these services is that they're all being taught in the Marietta area. The Washington County Career Center has programs that cover all the services I listed within the graphic design and video production program and the digital marketing program. Both of the programs accept up to 20 students per year, and they take 2 years to complete. They also offer the students opportunities to earn industry credentials, so I'd be able to show those to businesses to prove that the students have experience and they're knowledgeable about what they're doing. And the digital marketing program is in its first year in the 2017-2018 school year, but they are optimistic that they'll be able to fulfill the size. And one really exciting thing is they're going to require all the students in their second year to take an internship, so that'd be a very large supply of potential employees that I could utilize. And I could also utilize other students beyond the Career Center, but of course with that, they would likely have to research digital marketing on their own, and I would have to develop a way to evaluate how much they knew about the industry. And so as I thought about my services, I really honed in on one target market that I thought could benefit the most from it. First is small businesses with particularly less than 20 employees, because they can't commit one full-time employee to actually running their digital marketing. And also older business owners, because they aren't as immersed in the technology and digital marketing as some of the younger business owners have, so they're less able to execute it themselves. And then finally, I want to focus on the retail and restaurant sectors, primarily because they are targeting consumers, and so the consumers would be more influenced by the digital marketing, just making the whole business more effective for them. And so when I thought about the target market, I also thought there were two main ways that I would acquire customers. One, by getting the new customers, and two, by extending the services offered to my current customers that I would develop. So to find new customers, first I would research local businesses and find ones that I thought were lacking in the digital marketing, and then meet with them and present to them a plan that I thought could increase their digital marketing and their sales. I also included in my financial statements of my business plan membership into the Marietta Area Chamber of Commerce, which I would utilize to meet business owners and network with them and use that to potentially get their business. And then when I met with local businesses, they also identified that they said recommendations from other businesses was one of the major factors in making decisions for them. So I would provide incentives for current customers to recommend future customers. And then I would also want to optimize the amount of services I provide to current customers. So I am planning to do regular progress meetings with the customers. And during these, I would not only evaluate the progress of the current digital marketing campaigns that they're undergoing, but also look into different ways that I could expand the services to them. Try to find ways that the current services were lacking and improve on those, but also offer them additional services that they weren't utilizing, that, like the search engine optimization that they could use to further increase the influence of their digital marketing campaign. And so with pricing for this industry and the target market can be a little difficult. All of the pricing kind of have to be customized based on the expectations and the needs of the businesses, but I have created a baseline price system that would be adaptive. So for web design, my starting price for a typical 10-page website would be $400, and then I would pay the students $275, with additional fees for things like e-commerce capabilities and the ability to post a blog. And so if a business was to hire a professional firm to do this, they would be looking the price range of $4,000 to $10,000, or paying $25 to $100 an hour. Their prices are so high because the other firms are customizing everything and writing all the code from scratch. And my business would be able to lower those expenses by having the students utilize website building software and customizing various templates for the websites, which is a lot less labor intensive, but it still really meets the needs of the local businesses. A lot of the businesses I talked to said $400. They would definitely do that if they needed it. But the $4,000 to $10,000 price range was far too much for what they needed. They just needed a web presence. They didn't need anything custom or super custom. And then once we have the website built, The goal would be to try to get those businesses to utilize Prime Business Resources also for their web hosting. I would charge $25 a month for basic hosting, and then I would pay out hosting fees, $10 a month, and then pay the students $5 a month to manage those websites. So hopefully students would be able to manage a couple of those. And this would just include the web hosting, the domain name, and very minor changes to the website. And businesses could also opt for more advanced web hosting for $50 a month. And again, we'd pay $10 a month in web hosting, but we'd pay the students $20 a month because they would be responsible for keeping the website updated with new products and promotions and updating it seasonally. With social media management, my base price would be $250, and I would pay the students $150 a month. And this would include up to 3 social media platforms and 20 unique posts per platform per month, with additional posts or platforms available for an additional fee. And this would also include regular performance reviews to evaluate the effectiveness of the social media and look for ways to improve it, and also give the businesses an opportunity to meet with the students and express, what things they needed promoted. And I think my prices are really reasonable considering the benefits I foresee businesses having from utilizing Prime Business Resources over any of my competitors. First, most of the businesses identified that they were doing their digital marketing themselves. And by hiring Prime Business Resources, they'd be able to save time to focus on other aspects of their business, and they also wouldn't have to know everything about digital marketing just to handle it themselves. Another option for businesses is to hire an additional employee, which can be costly, and they would also be required to constantly manage that employee in the day-to-day and be responsible for replacing that employee when they inevitably leave. Whereas Prime Business Resources would handle the management of the employee and be responsible for making sure somebody was constantly in that position to fulfill their needs. And then finally, as opposed to hiring a professional marketing firm, a larger firm, Prime Business Resources would be able to provide more base services at significantly lower prices so companies can still get the digital marketing services they need without a huge time commitment or high prices. And so as I developed my business plan and did the research, I kept referring back to my 3 main goals for the business. First, to provide students with valuable work experience, which I think allowing them to work with local businesses and on digital marketing definitely fulfills. Also, I want to help local businesses expand by providing the digital marketing services that they need to acquire new customers. And then finally, I want to be able to stimulate the local economy. And by hiring local students and serving local businesses, I think it'll keep the money locally and really help the economy in Marietta. And I also had additional goals for the business besides just these 3. The first is to be able to stay, on track with industry trends and add new services as they're developed and offer those services to my customers. And to grow beyond just digital marketing so I can fulfill the needs of businesses but beyond just digital marketing and allow for more students to have work experience. And then also, while I think Marietta is a great location to start this business, I also think that there's a lot of potential to expand beyond Marietta and further the reach beyond it. And so throughout my research, I continuously found businesses expressing the need for digital marketing and optimism about having high school students fulfill it.
I'm 55, and I've never seen a slide before that calls me old, so I'm still struggling with that.
That's right at the cusp of baby boomers where they're less comfortable with technology, so it's not old as much as generational trends.
I'm going to start with a detailed question, although I do have some sort of overall business questions.
Okay.
And that's about your choice to use students as independent contractors.
Yep.
So 1099 is, of course, a legal definition, and that means that these are self-directed individuals. They bring their own tools. And I'm thinking that, particularly for the high school level, there should be a lot of supervision. There's going to have to be vetting.
Yep.
I'm not envisioning these as 1099. So can you talk a little bit about why you chose that?
With the hourly, when I talked to a lot of businesses, they said if they heard hourly how much they were going to be paying for services, that was kind of an automatic in because they wanted to be able to know how much they were going to pay in the in. But when I looked into the 1099, I thought the one thing you mentioned is they have to provide their own resources. And when I talked to the Career Center people, they said all their students already had that stuff, and they would be able to utilize the Career Center resources for that. And then for kind of managing the employees, I think it's kind of a tight line, what you're saying. But I would also utilize services like Hootsuite and other kind of like social media management. I wouldn't give them direct access to company profiles, so I'd be able to monitor what they're posting and make sure it's appropriate and everything.
You were talking about credentialing opportunities for the students. So in choosing your student employees, would you require that they be credentialed in some fashion prior to working for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would definitely be a bonus, but I also think when I spoke to the Career Center, I think it was second semester is at the point where they've covered a lot of the social media management, and the graphic design class has covered, you know, the web design and stuff like that. So I think making sure they've gotten to the point in the curriculum and they're doing well and they have the recommendation of their teacher, kind of more important than the credentials, at least for me.
But why high school? Why not college students?
Yeah, I want to target high schoolers. If I find that there aren't enough, I would definitely be open to expanding to college students. I just think that there are more opportunities for college students than there is for high schoolers, so that's kind of the belief. But it's definitely not, I'm not excluding college students totally, and I think, at least with like leadership positions within the company, that there are definitely more along those lines opportunities for college students.
So you would target a business and they tell you, here's what we need, and they're
Yep.
going to pay $400.
Yep.
Do you then say, here's your student, now I'll just step out and work it
No.
out with them, and I'll pay you at the, or you pay me at the end, I pay them at the end?
They want to interact with the student through me. So if they had an issue with the student, they could contact me, and that would be kind of better for the working relationship with them. And the progress meetings that I mentioned, I would have, those would be with me and the business. Twice a month, the business would meet with the student for just a quick meeting, just kind of outline making sure they're still on track, and so the student could get ideas about what promotions were coming up and get pictures that they might need for the social media. So my role is definitely more the manager and the facilitator for the relationship, as opposed to just
Pay
stepping
would
back.
come at the end or up front, or how does the pay work?
I think at the end, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your personal experience. I mean, have you had much SEO experience, like Google Merchant, you know, the Google Merchant Console and AdWords? Have you done any work?
I managed my grandpa's social media, and I did some search engine optimization and built the website for him for his rental company. Digital marketing is definitely a big interest for me, so it's something I've tried to read up on and stuff.
And there's a lot of resources out there. Okay, so the credentials come after they graduate? That's kind of like an ongoing process for the students?
Yeah, so if they get certified in Photoshop, that would come after they finish the Photoshop unit, which I'm not sure. It comes, you know, throughout the 2-year experience. So they get them along the way, so they don't get all the certifications at the end. They'll get, you know, a couple first semester, a couple second, and so on.
I had a couple budget questions. You
Yep.
show that you're going to pay rent the first year and then never thereafter.
Yeah, Dr. Corsani said part of the money is you get the office space, but you have to, for legal reasons, you have to rent it from the school, and that comes directly out of the $10,000. So I think for that, I would utilize that, but I definitely don't think, especially since the students are responsible for their own equipment, that I don't think, especially while the business is growing, it's required that I would have to, rent a space, but as long as, they're providing it, might as well.
And that's the same then with the phones. You have nothing in here for phones. They'd have their own phone?
Yeah.
And that's how you would connect with them?
Yeah.
And so then you just pay them and they'd pay all their own expenses?
Yeah, since they're an independent contractor, yeah. It's not hourly, it's based on project.
So you are fairly aggressively projecting a $27,150 sales in year one. Can you envision a circumstance in which you would attempt what they call a minimally viable product, so something that's going to try it out before you leap right into this? What would you do if, you got a very minimal amount of money and still were going to go ahead and try this?
If you look at my financial statements, the break-even point is fairly low. I think that's because a majority of my expenses are just the payroll, and so it's just kind of a percentage based. So even if it was a significantly lower amount, I could still operate the business and continue trying to grow it, even if it wasn't super profitable in the beginning.
Give me a picture of your first month and a half. How does that go?
I think my first step would be researching local businesses and identifying ones that I think would benefit from an increased digital marketing presence. I've already met with 8 local businesses, so maybe reaching out back to them and seeing if I could help them anymore, and then trying to secure a couple of contracts initially from them and the businesses that I researched, and then matching those with students at the Career Center. And then from that, trying to grow and get them to recommend other businesses.
Have you similarly lined up potential students?
I haven't met directly with any students. I met with 8 businesses. I met with 3 teachers within kind of the Marietta area, 2 of which were at the Career Center. And I spoke to them about what they thought their students would look into, and kind of ran the prices and the services by them, and got what they thought their students would think about that.
Could you go back to where you were talking a little bit about on one of your plans, it said the students would get $5 a month. What would they do for that $5, and would they do anything for $5?
Yeah, they're kind of the managers of the website management, so they might not have anything that they need to do 1 month, but they're still in charge that if the business contacts them, they would be responsible for that. Because as they move into more wanting to update major parts of their website or add new products and update larger parts, that's when they would move into the more advanced web hosting side.
How many websites do you think you can do in the first year of your 27,000? Do you have, I mean, is that 50 websites or?
I think it was 1 a month, since it won't take that long, and I think that there are definitely businesses within the area, more than 12, that would benefit from that.
To what degree have you partnered with, besides the Career Center that you were talking about, others in the region that are doing the same thing?
And I've met with a couple other kind of stakeholders that weren't really within education, but worked with businesses as well.
So tell me about the first month of your 5th year. What does that look like?
I think at that point, kind of making sure I'm managing all the employees and managing the turnover, I think at that point will be a big thing, and making sure there's a constant flow between employees. At the first month of my 5th year, I like to expand beyond the digital marketing and kind of find what other services businesses need that might not be as universal. So if one business needs something specific to their business that I can provide and give a student for, I think that would be definitely an area that I would hope to be into.
Do you see any quality issues, that how would you handle them? A dissatisfied client or an irritated independent contractor?
Yeah, they would approach me with that issue, and then I would work with the student. If it was an issue of the tweets weren't quality or posts weren't quality, like I said, I'll be utilizing the social media management websites. So I would kind of be able to review those beforehand. So hopefully if there was a bad item, I would be able to stop that for them. And also, since the students are within the Career Center, they're requiring an internship for the second-year students. With that, also, there's kind of more like management with that, so I can kind of utilize that as well with work with their professor or their teacher with that.
Thank you so much. Thank you, judges. Nathaniel, your turn.
Nathaniel is an English and theater double major. He graduated from Marietta High School in 2009 and served 4 years in the U.S. Army. So thank you for your service, Nathaniel. Nathaniel has been and continues to be involved in numerous community organizations for the benefit of Marietta.
All right. Hi, I'm Nathanial Maciag, and again, I just want to thank everyone for coming out to the second annual PioBiz Competition here at Marietta College. Before I start, I'd like to give a couple of thank yous. I'd like to thank Second Ton Graphics for doing our logo, which you see for today. And I'd like to thank my business partner and sister, Rebecca Hall, for making the trip up from Georgia. I'd like to kick us off with our mission statement, which is to provide freshly baked goods, pastries, and sweets of the highest quality, served in a welcoming atmosphere to enhance downtown and all of Marietta. And before I kind of go into the meat of the presentation, I'd like to give a little bit of background information about those who make up Slice of Life, which is myself and my sister. Since coming back to the area in 2013, I really have tried to plug myself as much as I can into the community via local events and organizations, so that way I can kind of pave the way for the opening of our business. And then there's my sister, Rebecca. She isn't just a baker. She is an artist, a musician, and a seamstress. Whereas I spend my free time, I'll play video games, she is creating paintings, she is playing her trombone, and she is making aprons for her friends. It is her discipline and dedication to her imagination that makes her more than just a baker. And now I'd like to kind of briefly explain bakeries and their place in the economy, both on a macro and micro level. The baking industry has steadily been growing for some time now. According to Global Industry, Inc., the global market for baked products is expected to exceed $485 billion in 2020. And current shopping trends indicate people prefer to shop at small businesses as opposed to larger chains, which pivots perfectly into my next slide about the micro economy, more specifically here in the Mid-Ohio Valley and our bakery. The local economy supports small businesses, especially eateries, very well. We have the ability to corner the market as a bakery locally. The idea of a bakery fits very well with what the vision of downtown Marietta's vision is for the area. And now I'd kind of like to explain what the environment for our establishment is going to be like. You know, what would happen if you were to walk in to Slice of Life in any given day. While conceptualizing what Slice of Life would be like, we knew we wanted to be aesthetically different from what is readily accessible here in the community. We settled on a lively, colorful, and urban approach. We hope this will convey a sense of vitality, zest, and creativity, which is important to us at Slice of Life. Here is an example of, right now in our possession, we have about 12 repurposed bus seats, which we'd like to use for the seating for our establishment, just because it's kind of different and fun and cool. Another thing that we'd like to do is commission local artists to decorate the walls and the exterior of the complex with graffiti-style art. And that would be a way of engaging local artists and high schools. We could perhaps hold competitions at the colleges and high schools to do a section. And now I'm going to kind of give you an overview of the products that we plan on offering from when we open. Our business model thrives because of our ability to produce products at a high volume for low cost. An average markup price is between 200 to 300%, with the possibility of up to 400%. And the objects that are going to be pictured here, the retail prices are what we have set for when we open, except for when I get to the specialty cake section, which that is just going to be the base price, but I'll explain that more when I get to it. We'll have basic cakes for a price between $25 to $40. And then our cookie price range is going to be between $1 to $2.75. And now that is going to be contingent on the level of intricacy put into the cookie itself. Now, we can do basic cookies like chocolate chip cookies. This, what you see here, is kind of a more mid-range detailed cookie combination. And then finally here on the far right, we have cake pops. We would like to sell whole pies, and the price there is, that's cut off, is between $16 to $23 for a whole pie, depending on the type of pie requested, as well as we would like to maybe expand into selling individual pie slices, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Cupcakes start at $18 a dozen. Again, like the cookies, that depends on the level of intricacy involved in the what the customer would like and what fits the season for what we would have on hand. And then we would have meringues and candy apples. Then we get to our tier cake-based prices. So we can do cakes with buttercream icing and with fondant. And the reason we have a base price is because there's a lot of man hours that go into making cakes like this. To anticipate that and not to undersell our products, we have that base price with the understanding that there will be additional charges based on an hourly rate. And so I'd like to present with you the slice of life difference. Up to this point and throughout the slide, all of the, except for the poorly done minion, are pictures of our work. And here you just have more examples of the seasonal offerings that we would have and for a special order. Next, I would like to talk about opportunities that we have for our business in the area. Marietta currently has no dedicated business whose primary function is the creation and distribution of baked goods prepared in-house. Our 3rd Street location is a traffic-heavy area right around the corner from the People's Bank Theater, which will provide good visibility for our business. Furthermore, we're also a stone throw away from Marietta College, which we can use to kind of capitalize on and aim special promotions at both Marietta College students and staff. Our location is connected to Asylum Comics, a well-known business that has been open for over 11 years. We hope to achieve a kind of business synergy with Asylum Comics that you see in larger chain bookstores like Barnes & Noble and Borders. You have your Starbucks, your Seattle Best Coffee. You can pick up a coffee, a pastry, walk around, look at books, sit down, read a book. Now I'd like to touch upon the competition aspect of our business. As a business, our threats can be divided into 2 categories, those being small business competitors and large chain competitors. With the small business competitors, we will be competing mostly over atmosphere, quality, and customer service, whereas the larger chain competitors, we will be competing over more convenience, speed, and accessibility. Next, I would like to touch upon our business's limitations. The most glaring limitation is our space. Our primary entrance is located off an alley and not a main road. The alley is between 3rd, 4th, Putnam, and Butler Street. However, being connected to Asylum Comics enables us to have a 3rd Street entrance as well, which will be open so long as Asylum Comics and as long as both establishments are open, which is going to be the primary bulk of our business hours. The small staff, because we are going to be a startup, is just going to be 2 people starting out. But to kind of mitigate any rushes we might experience, we will also have a third part-time employee who will be available on an as-needed basis. And some more smaller limitations we'll experience is, because of the nature of our business and the industry, we have timely access to specialty packaging products, and decorating equipment is limited. We couldn't just go drive out and get a lot of the packaging we'd need. To mitigate that, we would just need careful planning and being able to anticipate what we think what will sell depending on the season. Finally, like any season or any business or industry, there are slow seasons. For the baking industry, slow seasons usually begin after Christmas and persist through or until Valentine's Day. And then as a month, September tends to be a slow month overall. However, given this area and the start of a new semester at Marietta College, coupled with the Stern Wheel Festival, we actually anticipate September being one of our stronger months. And so now I'm going to cover our 1-, 3-, and 5-year plans. Within 1 year, we plan to have a full staff, including 1 to 2 bakers, 1 to 2 part-time customer service members, with the possibility of more staff. Within 3 years, we plan to greatly expand our menu offerings to include coffee products, ice cream, and more confectionery-based products. And within 5 years, we plan to greatly expand our special order options, broaden our customer base using consistent and scripted material through various social media outlets such as Facebook and Instagram, as well as maintaining a dedicated YouTube channel. And finally, we would like to open up our menu to include lunch items as well. As for the distribution of funds, although we are a startup, we already have an affordable space set aside and some commercial equipment and appliances on hand. As you can see, the values denoted of what we have up there right now. Now, if we were to win PioBiz, what we would use the bulk of our funds for would be an oven, which would take about half of what the anticipated winnings would be. And from that, as you can see, other things we would plan to purchase would be a proofer, retrofitting our space to become a kitchen, a deep freezer, a 3-basin sink, hand wash sink, work tables, and cooling rack. As I conclude my presentation, I'd also like to invite you all. Today we launch our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So go ahead, like those, follow those. That'd be great. I would also like to invite my business partner and sister, Rebecca Hall, up here for the Q&A session, as she is the subject matter expert on all things baking and baking equipment and things pertaining to baking things.
Thank you.
So I'm going to start with one of the same questions I asked the last competitor. Can you talk to me a little bit about what, in my jargon world, I call the minimally viable product? If you didn't have $10,000 in immediate start, can you start at a smaller level? What would you do for a gradual start?
We are pretty well equipped right now. We just need to clear out our space. We don't need to beautify things, but that would be preferred. We probably wouldn't need, our startup cost wouldn't probably be any greater than $5,000 at this point. And if you have anything to add.
Like things you need, such as like an oven, convection oven, and a lot of the main appliances to start out with.
I have a staffing question. You start with, I think this said 3, but you said 2. So.
Yes. However, if we do experience a rush, a surge in business, we also have access to a dedicated part-time staff member that we can utilize on an as-needed basis. So if things are slow and we don't need them, yeah.
And your hours would be 7 till 5?
Yes.
Who's cleaning up? Who's doing? Are you going to be doing everything? And what if the baker gets sick?
If the baker gets sick, well, that would pose a large problem. We're going to take multivitamins and make sure plenty of exercise. But in that case, all the while, I will be apprenticing under my sister, and we will be hiring the first position we would be hiring on would be an apprentice baker to, hopefully remedy any situation that would occur stemming from that.
Have you done any work at the site?
The reason that the space is available to us is because I purchased the property under a property management company, and I currently manage the property, and there are 2 other businesses located in the property.
So you own the property?
That is correct.
You're going to be in the back half?
Yes. So the front entrance, or the front of the building, has 2 separate entrances. One for a business, which is second to none graphics, and then the other side is Asylum Comics. Off of Asylum Comics, there is a doorway, which will act as a gateway to our establishment, as well as we have would be our main entrance that anyone could access anytime Asylum isn't open. And we do also have rear parking. You could go through the comic book store while both businesses were open, or you could just pull around back.
You're currently a baker in
Yes,
Augusta,
sir.
Georgia?
Yes, sir.
So you go in at 4 o'clock in the morning or whatever, or 5 o'clock in the morning?
Some pretty early mornings.
As far as the renovations, have you dealt with the city much yet as far as floodplain and zoning? And
I had to do that initially because I had to get the occupancy for the property management company and the two businesses inside. Crossing that bridge when we come to it, because up to this point it hasn't been necessary to pursue that avenue. Because my focus before this was getting the other two businesses in there and running, so that way the property is generating income.
I'm concerned on the $2,000 on retrofit.
Mm-hmm.
You might be a decimal point or two off.
The cost might not be as high as you'd think they'd need to be. Because we already have a drop ceiling installed, it would be a simple matter of replacing the type of ceiling tiles needed. So that way that would accommodate a eatery as opposed to what it is currently now.
It's a fairly small establishment. So what are some of the major errors that were made that you saw that you're going to avoid?
They definitely, they had a vision, a great vision, but it had a lot of different products that they couldn't be interchangeable, so they had everything out there at once, and of course not everything sold, not everyone liked certain things, so they threw a lot of products away in the beginning. Now they had to make their menu a lot smaller, and people that came in, when we first opened, that come back later on, they're like, oh, but you had this then. And, oh, a lot of the products we have, they have a lot of the same basic raw ingredients that are just interchangeable, so we'll always have the certain specific ingredients on hand, and with our 1, 3, and 5 year plans, we'll be slowly adding more to it, so we'll be perfecting a smaller menu, and then we can broaden.
What about surveying your clientele? Do you have an idea of what's liked here?
We've been making general inquiries via Facebook, just making posts. What would you be interested in seeing here locally? Got a lot of positive feedback from people locally. Mostly what we presented today saying that we'd be offering was the resounding answers of what people would like to see. We like to throw in some other things like the meringues, for example, because those are a really fun product that not a lot of places have, as well as the candied apples.
You show about $15,000 a month in products sold. Is that average?
From the baker that I'm at, because Augusta, Georgia is a bigger town, I took that number and I made it a bit smaller to fit our population here. From a day-to-day basis, because our boss is also a promoter, so she's very good at promoting on social media. The days that she keeps it promoting, we do get a very steady clientele daily. Augusta,
Georgia is also a very tourist-driven economy. Augusta, Georgia is where the Masters tournament is held. So they experience a substantial amount of their city's income from what is, I'm not a golfer.
1 week of the year.
1 week of the year. And so, we don't see that here in Marietta on nearly that level, but because our economy does rely heavily on events such as the Stern Wheel Festival and more recently the Riverboat Roar, we're able to kind of use that formula that is used in Augusta, Georgia and adapt that to our plan here in Marietta. The eventual goal is to kind of sell coffee products as well, but starting out, we really want to push our special ordering, our more intricate cake designs, because that is something that isn't done locally. That is also why we didn't include donuts as an offering, because the local market is already congested, both in Parkersburg and Marietta, with donuts. So, that's why we want to focus on cookies and muffins, and even not even muffins so much as cookies and cakes.
But no, we really do want to create affordable cakes for people for their special occasions.
Do you think it's 7 to 5? Is that right? 7 a.m. to 5 p.m.?
That is correct.
What about the people who are coming into work a little bit earlier who would probably like to drive through? That's just not going to be an option.
We are really limited, at least in my mind, by our location right now. But it is a very affordable location, as outlined in the business plan. Our overhead, including utilities, rent, insurance, is going to be less than $1,000. And that is highballing. Being the property manager, I'm able to control the rent price. And because there are multiple businesses in this building, I include rent in everyone's cost of rent because it's just easiest that way to manage for me to pay the utilities and collect a set amount from everybody else. Places like Jeremiah's Coffee House, Emmanuel's, they do their own. Actually, Jeremiah's utilizes Lisa's Sweet Shop based out of Beverly. I mean, I'd say we'd definitely be open to the idea of wholesaling our products as well as selling them out of our establishment.
How do you feel about your working relationship? Have you worked professionally together before?
We will work well together. We've been planning this for many years now, and just the excitement and the passion has only grown from there. That is us, and also the potential for a average of a part-time staff member for heavier or more business in certain months. Well, I guess we're really banking on the fact that we are the sole proprietors of the business, that if need be, we can take the hit to our pay to accommodate what is in the best interest of the business.
So you do have a couple other businesses as well, you said?
I co-own Second to None Graphics, and I set up a property management company to better manage the singular property that I own. My presence at Second to None Graphics is minimal at best, and then managing the property on 3rd Street is as simple as making sure the bills are paid and depositing the rent checks.
Your loan cash injection has $10,000. Where's that coming from?
Winning PioBiz. We like to be optimists.
And no provision for income taxes. You've got net profit before taxes of $29,000 and income taxes of 0. So how are you going to shelter your taxes? I'd like to know that. Maybe I can employ those sheltering methods in my business.
And as for that question, I wish I knew more about tax law. This is still going to be a learning experience for both of us, and there is going to be a lot of nicks and dings along the way. But we have no doubt that we will persevere through those and come out stronger as a result.
Who's advising you on this? Or
that is Rustin Funk. He is located on 3rd Street across, actually very close to us. He is who made up the contracts for my tenants for the building.
And he'll advise you on salaries and FICA and all that?
When we cross that bridge, most definitely.
We're done? Okay, thank you so much. So, the judges, hopefully in the next 10 minutes or 15 minutes, they're going to privately discuss the two cases and return to this room to announce the winner. So see you in about 10, 15 minutes. All right, well, okay, welcome back. First, I want to start by thanking the judges. They really worked hard on this, and their questions were really in depth. They do have some comments do you want both presenters up here?
So congratulations on both of your presentations. I think that both of you did an excellent job. And the mantra is that we'd rather work with an A team and a B idea than a B person and an A idea. I think that both of you have very interesting ideas and a lot of positive things about the potential of your businesses. And you are both obviously A team people. Kudos to you. You did an excellent job presenting. I saw a lot of the sort of vibrancy, the willingness to work all hours without pay, all of the kind of things the challenges that you're all going to face. I will say, I would recommend that you work very hard when you do business plans. I will acknowledge that when I read your business plans, I was not nearly as impressed as I was when I heard you present. So I think in both cases, you really need to work on that when and if you're going to get loans, going to present those to banks and so on. However, if you're going to run off and do a startup, the business plan is not necessarily the very first thing you're going to do. You're going to be focusing on getting your partnerships, getting your clients, telling your story, putting things together. And those are things that I think that you have the skill set now to do.
Miss Ashley, I think there's a huge need for what you're trying to do. I have some quality concerns utilizing high school students. One of my real good friends owns a business in Columbus, Ohio, doing what you're wanting to do. She's extremely successful. She's printing money right now. So
can I work for you?
But her quality is world class. The bakery feedback, one huge problem. You should have brought the judges the cookies first. Cookies are beautiful, they taste great, so thank you. I have some concerns or feedback on space and renovation costs. I know that building very well. You're gonna have parking, you're gonna have all these issues. They can be very challenging. And I think wholesaling would be a good potential avenue for you. There's a donut shop in Charleston, South Carolina called Glazed. I dream about it every now and then. It's wonderful. The donuts are $3 or $4 a pop. Anyway, Marietta needs a good bakery, so I wish you all the best. Marietta really needs a spark of economic development, and I think both of you would be two great sparks of business entrepreneurs. You're going to take a lot of risk, and that's the only way you're going to get any reward. And one of my mentors told me early on when I was getting started, he said, I've been worse than broke. And I laughed at him. I said, yeah, whatever, old man, you don't know what you're talking about. I've been there, and you're going to face a lot of challenges. Stick with it. Keep your nose to the grindstone. don't get frustrated.
We all think you did just a wonderful job presenting. I do agree there's a high need for people like you. You're way over my head in the information you know. And when I go downtown and I shop, the shopkeepers will stop me, and they tell me you're the services they need. Bakery, you're 2 blocks from my house. It would be wonderful. So good luck to both of you. I think it was a great presentation by both of you.
Well, we don't have just one check. We have 2 checks. So the first place goes to Nathaniel. Nathaniel? Yeah? So you want to take? Oh! So Nathaniel, as you see, the judges have agreed that we will award up to $7,500 in kind, in cash award, and also expense reimbursements for your business. Please be aware that you are in a college area, and a lot of experts are floating around, downstairs, upstairs, out of the building. Definitely reach out to all those experts and ask for help and advice. Congratulations. And this is the first year we have a second award. Here we go. There you go, Ashley. The judges really admire your enthusiasm, your hard work, and your determination. Congratulations. We work on this, see how you want to use the $2,500, in what combination, but this is yours. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Thank you again, the judges, and we'll see you next year. Are we good? Are we in a good position for your picture?